Hi, this is today's lesson on solving systems of linear equations. What you need to do is get out your notebook and title your notes 8-7, Solving Systems of Linear Equations, and then copy down these steps. Once you're finished copying them down, you can turn it back on and we will walk through. I'll read the steps to you and then we'll actually walk through a problem. So pause the computer right now and we'll be back and talk to you in a minute. Okay, welcome back. Here are the steps for solving a linear equation. The first step, if the lines are in y equals mx plus b form, then you can graph the lines. And there's some stars here, and that just means that if the equation is not in y equals mx plus b form or slope-intercept form, then you have to solve the equation for y. So the first thing that you will do is graph the y-intercept of one of the lines. Second, you're going to use the slope to find 2 or 3 more points on the line. Finally, you connect the points together with a straight edge to make a line. Then you're going to repeat steps 2 through 4 for the second equation. Where the lines intersect or cross is the solution to the system. Always check your answer in both equations to make sure that it works. So let's look at the first example. We will graph the first equation in blue. So we need to identify what is the slope. There's not a number in front of the x, remember it's 1, so the slope is 1. And the y-intercept, which is b, is -6. Remember, sometimes we want to change minuses to plus a negative. So first we graph the y-intercept, which is -6. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down and make our point. And the slope is 1. So that means we rise 1, run 1, rise 1, run 1, rise 1, run 1. And then we're going to connect that together with a straight line. And this is the graph of the first equation, which is y equals x minus 6. The second equation is y equals -2x. So the slope is -2 or -2/1 in the y-intercept. Because there's not a number, the y-intercept is 0. So first we graph the y-intercept, and then we're going to use our slope, -2/1, which means we're going to go down 2 and to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1. And then we'll take and make a line to connect those together. And where the points intersect, which is right here, this is the solution to the equation, which is 1, 2, and then we move down 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2, -4. What you want to do is you want to check it and plug it into each equation. So we think the solution is 2, -4, which means this is x and this is y, and we'll plug it into the equation. -4 equals 2 minus 6, and -4 equals -4. So it checks in the first equation, and now we'll see if that checks in the second equation. So we have y, which is -4 equals -2 times 2, and -4 equals -4. So it checks in the second equation. So we know then that the solution here, 2, -4, is the solution to those two equations, or the system of equations. Now there are two special cases. When lines are parallel, there is no solution. So when you graph the lines and they never intersect, there's going to be no solution. And when lines are the exact same line, there are infinitely many solutions. That means that any point on the line is a solution. So you would write infinite number of solutions. Let's look at this here and try this problem and see how we do. First thing that I notice is that the second equation is not in slope-intercept form, so we have to solve that for y. So the first thing we do is subtract x, or add negative x to each side. So we have the opposite of y equals the opposite of x plus 6. And we want to know what y is, not the opposite of y. So we're going to divide everything by -1 or change the sign of everything. So these negatives cancel. These negatives cancel. So we have y equals x minus 6. Well, look at this. The first equation is y equals x minus 6. So right away we know that they're the same equation, so there's going to be infinite number of solutions. So let's just graph them and see how that turns out. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. -6 is the y-intercept of the first equation, and the slope is 1, so we go up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1. And when we graph that line, it would look like this. And I'm going to change that line to blue so we can see the how the two lines are going to be in the same place. So then so then we're going to graph the second one. We put our point here and we move up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1. It's the exact same line. And again, we'll graph that line. And it should be, it's a little off, but it's hard sometimes to use this line tool and get it in the right place. So this one would be red, and we can see, if I had this a little more on, it is the exact same line. So the solution here is infinitely many solutions. So that means any number on this, any point on this line would be a solution for either equation. All right, I want you to try this one on your own. Pause the video for a minute, and then when you're ready, you can turn it on and we'll go through it together. All right, let's look at this. The first equation, we first want to identify the slope, which is 1, because there's not a number in front of x, so that would be 1, and the y-intercept is 4. So we start at 4, 3, 4, and then we're going to use our slope 1, which means we rise 1, run 1, rise 1, run 1, rise 1, run 1. And we will connect that together with a straight line. Whoops, that's not a very good line. We'll try that again. Whoops, why did it go there? Okay, let's try this again. Okay, there's the line. Ignore this little line. Just delete it. All right, now let's graph the second one. So this one here, there's, again, the number is 1. We're not adding anything to it. It's plus 0. So the slope is 1 and the y-intercept is equal to 0. So we start at 0 and we rise 1, run 1, rise 1, run 1, rise 1, run 1, rise 1, run 1. And it looks like this. Might not intersect on this graph paper. Oh, guess what? Are they ever going to intersect? No, because guess what? The lines have the exact same slope, therefore they will never intersect. So lines that have the same slope, which both of these lines have a slope of 1, will never intersect. So guess what? There are no solutions. So I have one more problem that I'd like to do, and this is a story problem. The story problem says find two numbers with a difference of 2. So difference means that we are going to subtract, and they have a sum, which means we're going to add, of -8. So we're going to let x be one of the numbers and y be the other number. So our first equation we can write is x plus y equals -8, because that here shows the sum, and then the difference, x minus y equals 2. So we need to first solve each equation for y, and then we can graph. So we have x plus y equals -8. We add the opposite of x to each side, and y is equal to the opposite of x minus 8. The second equation, x minus y equals 2. We would add the opposite of x to each side. That cancels. We have the opposite of y equals the opposite of x plus 2. Divide by -1 to get rid of that negative in front of the y, and we have y equals x, because negative divided by a negative is positive, minus 2. So here are the two equations that we are going to graph. So let's go to the next screen and see what we're going to graph. So we have y equals x plus -2 and y equals -x plus -8. So we start with the y-intercept. We're going to graph the red equation first. The y-intercept is -2 and the slope is 1. So we go up 1, run 1, up 1, run 1, up 1, run 1. And we can connect that together with a line. Oops, I didn't mean to get two arrows in there. And then we'll graph the second one. We're going to start at -8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then the slope is negative. The slope here is -1, so we can write this two ways, 1 over -1 or -1 over 1, which means that we would move 1 up and then 1 to the left, or we could move 1 down and 1 to the right. So let's move 1 up, 1 to the left, 1 up, run to the left, run up, rise up, run to the left. So we connect these together, and we can already see our point of intersection, which is going to be right here at this point, and that point is 1, 2, 3, -3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -3, -5. So we can take, let's look back here and see what they said. So we want to find two numbers with a difference of 2 and a sum of -8. So if we subtract the two numbers, -3 minus -5, that becomes plus a positive. That they have a difference of 2, and their sum is -8, so it works out. Please write down any questions that you have and bring them to class tomorrow. Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow in class.